This is Pokemon Black. The twist? Everything is random. All Pokemon have been shuffled, their abilities as well as items and the gym leader's Pokemon. Also, this is a part 3 to a video series, so go check that out first. Also, this is a Nuzlocke, meaning if a Pokemon faints, it's dead forever, and we can only encounter one Pokemon per route. The rest of this rules we're able to play through are on the screen and in the description down below. We start our journey by picking one of 3 randomized Pokemon. Since Farfetch'd and Drowsy aren't really mouth-watering, I decide to go with the monkey who I forget to nickname. We fail our first encounter being a Smeargle, which is okay because Smeargle kinda sucks. This means we gotta face off against N with just one Pokemon. Luckily, he is a Geodude which just can't do much, so I can just take it out with a couple of Embers, winning me the battle. I also am able to catch my first encounter being a Tynamo, which is okay. This means my 2 Pokemon have to go face to face against the first gym leader, Cress. He leads off with a Meditite, and I lead off with my Tynamo. The best course of action is to paralyze Tynamo, but no dice, and it sets up an attack boost. Luckily, on the next turn, I get a critical hit, Spark, murdering Meditite. This baits in Bonsly, so I decide to paralyze it, but it hits a low kick. So, on the next turn, I can switch out into the better of my Pokemon who gets hit by a rock throw, doing a decent amount of damage. Since I have Mach Punch priority, it does decent damage as it retaliates with another rock throw. Since I'm low, I gotta switch out into my Tynamo as it gets fully paralyzed, which is great. The Spark does decent damage as I get nailed with a flail, but my Oranberry heals me back up. I decide to Spark again, which leaves Bonsly in the red, but then a flail ends up taking me out because it's at low HP. This means I gotta switch out in my monkey as Cress heals. A Mach Punch leaves it in the red HP range, but since Mach Punch is priority, another one just takes it out, winning me the first gym badge of the playthrough. After this, our rival Bianca gets her Pokemon stolen, but don't worry about that. Instead, worry about the Slack Off that I caught. It won't have Truant when he evolves, so it'll be a great encounter for later down the line. And then Bianca gets her Pokemon stolen again, but don't focus on that, focus on this puppy I caught. I do have to enter the cave after this to free get Bianca's Pokemon, and I do find a Charm which was in the last attempt. I also engage in a double battle with some Grunts. This isn't a problem, and I can also get the TM for Toxic, which is great. And that's gonna matter, cause we gotta fight N. He leads with a Riolu who just be taken out with a monkey. In fact, I'm gonna be honest, we just kinda pulled a monkey sweep here because all of his Pokemon are either weak to our stab types being fire and fighting. So yeah, and do better next time, okay? And maybe don't bring a Budew to a firefight. And then we can catch a Dino, which is a great encounter upon evolution. I'm also able to evolve 2 of my Pokemon, the better of which being Vigoroth. This means we have to go fight the second gym leader, Lenora. She leads off with a Bastiodon, and I lead off with my new Vigoroth. I can yawn it on the first turn, which puts it to sleep, but it won't put it to sleep until after on the second turn. This means I have to take a Metal Sound, which lowers my special defense, but luckily a Mach Punch on the next turn just takes it out. This baits in my Cargo, but this thing kinda sucks, so some Mach Punches take it out, winning me a surprisingly easy second gym badge. It's almost suspiciously easy if you ask me. In the forest, I also catch a Gulpin. Don't say it, just don't say it, please. This means we gotta fight the 3rd gym leader, Burke, with a full team of 6. His lead Pokemon is a Pidgeot, and I lead off with Herdier. This thing kinda sucks, so we can just do a lot of damage with a couple of bites before I can switch out into Dano. He knows Dragon Rage, so after taking some chip from a Gust, he can just take it out. His own Dano comes in and then kills me with a Dragon Rage. Uh-oh. Luckily, I'm able to take it out with a Mach Punch on the next turn. This baits in Magmar, and this thing could be an issue. A Mach Punch does a decent amount of damage before I can switch out into my Vigoroth. Vigoroth knows Yawn, and this thing hits extremely hard. Look how much damage I take from a weak Ember. This means I can switch back into Monferno as Magmar falls asleep. I can just go for a couple of more Mach Punches as it just falls asleep. This thing could be a huge problem. See how much damage it does? If I hit another Mach Punch, it'll heal, but luckily I can just use a Leer to take it out, winning me the 3rd gym badge. I'm also able to catch an Oshawott with Volt Absorb, which is amazing because it only has 1 weakness now. Great Pokemon. I'm also able to evolve the Cherry Pie, which is great because it can be a special Sun Sweeper. In the forest, I'm also able to catch a Beldum, which is a great Pokemon because of that Steel type with so many resistances. I can also catch a Golek, which is a great encounter and becomes incredibly useful upon evolution. With these encounters, we can go ahead and fight Elsa, the 4th gym leader. Her lead Pokemon is a Celio, oh the flashbacks, and I lead off with Metang, who is fully evolved. A Metal Claw does some chip as I get hit with an Aurora Beam. I can go for a Confusion on the next turn, which does a little less than half as it just hits some more chip with an Aurora Beam. Steel types really shine in this run because of all those resistances. Anyway, after using a takedown on the next turn, we can just take out Celio before it can do anything crazy. This baits in Rapidash, so I can switch out into Duat, who is now evolved, and I can just take it out with some Razor Shells. Her last Pokemon is a Hitmonlee, so it's off to the Cherry Pie to set up the Sun for Monferno, and then I can just do some chip damage because I'm not in any risk with a Razor Leaf. So this means I can just take it out with a Flame Wheel from the Monkey on the next turn, winning me the 4th Gym Badge. After a simple rival fight and busting Team Galactic, we can go ahead and fight the 5th Gym Leader, Clay. He leads off with a Ponerad, and this thing could be an issue because it also has that Steel type. Luckily, I got a hidden answer for that being in Monferno, who can just take it out with a Mach Punch. In fact, Monferno was able to sweep his entire team with Flame Wheels, winning us a surprisingly easy Gym Badge. In the last attempt, this Gym Badge was insane. Along the way, I'm able to encounter a Volbeat as well as a Manectric, both being incredible encounters for later down the line. This of course means we gotta fight Skyla. She leads off with a Wigglytuff who I can just Toxic for some chip damage because this thing is incredibly bulky. A bunch of slashes on the next turn can take it out. This baits in Toxicroak, which means I can switch into Cooler who can fairly wall him, as evident by the fact that I'm immune to Revenge. I get Swaggered on the next turn, but luckily I'm able to hit a Magnitude 9, which just takes it out because it's, well, a Magnitude 9. This baits in Mr. Mime, and then I get hit with a massive Side Beam after some pivots. I try to hit a super effective Ghost move, but it outspeeds and hits another Side Beam, which just takes me out. This means it's off to the Pie to set up the Sun and do some damage, winning me the battle and the 6th Gym Badge. A bunch of my Pokemon also evolve as a result because we've hit a level 39 level cap, which is amazing because we can get some fully evolved Pokemon, like the Monkey, Duat, and most importantly, Slaking. This of course means we gotta fight Charon. I've been skipping some rival fights so far because they've been really trivial. However, I wanted to mention this one. Anyway, his lead Pokemon is a Braviary, and I can just take it out with a couple of slashes. The Meganium comes in so I can switch into the Monkey, and a combination of Flame Wheel and Coast Combat can take it out. So, this leaves Charon with a second starter, a really buffed up Pig. This Pig is really weak to water and we're in the rain, so we can just take it out. Also, he's a Minin, but like, it's a Minin, so we can just take it out. Ooh, Flamethrower! Next up is the 7th Gym Leader, Byron. His lead Pokemon is a Magmortar and mine is Slaking, who has become incredibly reliable. A Slash does massive damage as I get confused. Since, you know, it's confusion, I gotta switch out into the Otter, who takes massive damage from a Flame Burst. Luckily, we're able to take it out with a Razor Shell. Mantay comes in, so I can switch out into Electric, who quad resists on a Wing Attack, and just can take it out with a Thunder Fang. Whimsicott comes in, and this thing has Shadow Attack, and since I'm incredibly low, I can't survive more than 2 Mega Drains. So, I gotta watch as Manectric has a life sucked out of him. RIP, buddy. This means I can switch in Infernape, and then hit a Flamethrower after taking some chip damage from a Gust. This thing just really sucks, and it really sucks that I had to sacrifice such a good Pokemon to defeat such a bad Pokemon. But oh well, that's just life. It kinda sucks, but it's good. Oh well, you know. Realizing that I've been pirating this game the entire time, Ends Nintendo Angels go up and just say he's gonna awaken Zekrom or something, I don't even know. But before I can go fight them, we gotta go hide and replace the dead body. Since most of my Pokemon are useless, I just decided to go with Volbeat. Unfortunately, his tenure is incredibly short and not exactly really sweet, because I don't really like Volbeat, because we just end up finding a Bagon in Zekrom's tower, which is amazing because it'll be great for the Elite Four, provided there are no ice types. Anyway, End wakes up Zekrom, which sucks because I gotta go fight him later. But screw that, let's fight the final Gym Leader, Drayden. He leads off with a Mothim, and I lead off with Taco. This thing has slow start, so a Psychic does around a half as it just turns itself into a normal type. A follow-up Psychic on the next turn takes it out. This baits in Rapidash, so it's off to the Surfer, and I've gotten the Surf HM by this point, so I can just go for a Surf, which just takes it out. On the next turn, Kingdra comes in, which is actually kind of fitting. So I can switch into the Cherry Pie to set up the Sun, and then switch out into the Sloth, who takes some chip damage from a Twister, and then hits some Slash. This thing does massive damage, and then I end up Toxicking it for the next turn, and then the next couple of turns are just this. I don't feel like narrating it, but eventually we do take it out, and we win the 8th and final Gym Badge of the playthrough, which was actually surprisingly hard. This means that Charon wants to fight me, having seen I have all 8 badges. Unfortunately, this fight is just kinda easy, so we can just skip over the entire thing. This means we get to go to Victory Road, and before I progress, I just want to acknowledge the Fallen 4. This run would not have been possible with their deaths. But with that, let's fight the Elite 4. Before we can do that, Bagel evolves into Salamence, which is great, provided we're not fighting, any ice types. This of course means we can fight Chantal. I wiped her last time, so hopefully I don't this time. She leads off with a Torterra, and I lead off with Taco. I switch into Bagel on the next turn as the Grass Lizard sets up a Leech Seed. This means on the next turn we can go up in the air and go for a Fly. I get Leech Seeded for some reason, but a follow-up Fly on the next turn can take it out. This baits an Obama, so I can just switch into Infernape to take it out with a Flamethrower. Raichu comes in, and the Flamethrower does half as I get hit with a disgusting Thunderbolt, which would have killed if it crit. Luckily, on the next turn, we're able to outspeed and get the kill with a Flamethrower, which is great. Lastly is Escavalier, and since I know I outspeed, I can just take it out with a Flamethrower, which wins me a surprisingly easy fight against Chantal, considering I wiped to her last time. Next up is Grimsley. He leads off with a Mr. Mime, and I lead off with Taco. Mr. Mime has Slow Start, and since I have Trace, I also have Truon. This means I gotta switch into Slaking as I get nailed with a Psychic. A Slash on the next turn leaves it in the yellow HP range. For whatever reason, he switches into Metagross, and I can't really explain why. Anyway, Mr. Mime heals up and hits some chip damage with a Psychic before we can do some more damage with a Metal Claw. On the next turn, we loaf before I can get a Psychic and rip through Mr. Mime with a Shadow Claw, which just ends up taking it out. This baits in, I don't even know what to call you. Anyway, yeah, this is pretty stupid. I can't really explain what I was doing here. I had Truon on. I don't know why I couldn't just switch out into another Pokemon. It makes no sense anyway. Oh well. I can't really explain this at all. I know I keep repeating myself, but I just can't explain this. I eventually do what I should have done, and I can switch into Infernape, who can just take it out with a Flamethrower. I have no idea why I had a Metagross with Truon. Anyway, this baits in Musharna at last, and after a long battle, I can just take it out with a couple of Surfs. Last up is Marshall, or third up I guess. He leads off with a Gobodor, and I lead off with Taco. Gobodor sets up a special defense, and as a result, my Psychic only does a third. Marshall then switches into Arcanine, and his Psychic does around a third. So it's off to Prime on a Fire Fang. On the next turn, Arcanine hits a disgusting extreme speed before we're able to take it out with a Surf. Garbodor comes back in and then poisons me with a Toxic, which can be incredibly annoying. My Surf ends up being just shy of the kill, and Garbodor comes back in and heals up, which is incredibly annoying. My Surf does around half as I continue to take chip from Toxic. I can switch into Infernape on a Sludge Bomb, which of course poisons again. I can go for a Flamethrower on the next turn, which just lights the ignition on fire. This baits in Samurott, so I gotta switch into Cherry Pie, who takes a decent amount of damage from an Aqua Tail. I can go for the Sun on the next turn as I get hit with a Slash. This means I can go for a Solar Beam, which is now one turn. And it takes it out, winning me the third Elite Four fight. Just kidding, there's a Lopunny with Intimidate, which is kind of a random ability to have. But it's no joke, and I can switch into Slaking, who can just take it out with a Slash. Just kidding. For whatever reason, again, I didn't come to my senses. I'm not sure why. I'm sure Slaking would have been able to handle this thing just fine. And then I don't even go for a super effective move here. I just go for a Metal Claw. I don't know. I honestly don't know what I was thinking in these fights. Oh well. I'm not really quite sure, but oh well. This leaves Caitlyn left. She leads off with a Vaporeon, and I lead off with Taco, who can phrase a Normalize. I decide to switch out to Cherry Pie, who can get off a Sunny Day before I can get hit with an Aurora Beam. I follow up a Solar Beam, which is just shy of the kill as I get hit with an Aurora Beam, and then she heals up. This could be a huge issue later down the line because I forgot how bulky this thing was. I was not sure what I was doing here at all. I couldn't tell if I was under stress, but I just was not playing like an optimal Nuzlocke. See, I switched into Bagel on an Aurora Beam, and then I can go for a Fly. This just doesn't make any sense looking back doing the post-commentary. I'm just really confused here. I had 6 good Pokemon. I was risking a lot of crits here. Anyway, Golem comes back in, and I kind of switch to my senses here, but it sets up a Stealth Rock. I can go for a Surf on the next turn, which just takes it out. Next up is, Carnivine. Luckily, again, I come to my senses, and I can just take it out with a Flamethrower on the next turn because Carnivine just kind of sucks. Last up is Typhlosion, and this thing was actually a big problem. Here, I remember coming to my senses a little bit, and then a bunch of Surfs and Flies and all that jazz just takes it out, winning me the battle. This means that N raises his castle on the next turn, does some really weird stuff, busts in Zekrom, and it's at this point we're introduced to a new Pokemon, Reshiram. Reshiram is completely randomized in this playthrough and could be a Rayquaza or a Zekrom. Time will tell. It could literally be anything. And Reshiram is... he's yeah. Hard pass here, buddy. Anyway, this means we can fight N. His lead Pokemon is a Slaking, and I lead off with Taco. Slaking hits a Swagger, and a Hammer Arm leaves it deep in the red. So I gotta switch into Infernape as N burns through a full restore. Slaking then hits a disgusting chip away before a close combat on the next turn can put the Sloth back to sleep forever, thanks to my massive attack stat here. Also, this thing just didn't really have any good defenses. Whiscash comes in on the next turn, and this thing could be a huge issue because of that ground and water stab, which is a great type combination. This means I can switch into the Pie, who gets hit with a Brine. I can go for a Solar Beam on the next turn, as Whiscash just has True Haunt, which is kind of trivial. Anyway, a Quad Weak Solar Beam takes it out. Rhyperior comes in, so I can go for a Solar Beam as I get hit with a disgusting Hammer Arm, which lowers Rhyperior's speed. A Solar Beam just takes it out on the next turn. Next up is Mamoswine, so it's off to Prime on a hard Earthquake. On the next turn, I nail Mamoswine with a Surf to take it out. Amistar comes in and goes for a Protect, so I burn through some PP here, which could be annoying. Amistar then hits him an AP doing massive damage before I can get off a Surf, which does around half. Oh well. This means I can switch into Taco, who can take an AP way much better than whatever his name was. I don't really care. And then I Metal Claw does decent damage as I just get hit with another AP. Oh well. I can go for a Hammer Arm on the next turn, but it misses and I get hit with another AP. Thankfully, he hasn't gotten the Omni Boost and another Hammer Arm just takes it out, although I do get some hit with some Chip. Frostlass comes in, so it outspeeds and it's a Captivate before I can get off a Toxic. Actually, I'm just shy of the kill here. I made that whole thing up because that's what happens on the next turn. I get hit with a Wake Up Slap before I'm able to get off a Toxic. Again, I wasn't really sure what I was doing here. The optimal play would have just been to stay in or something. Oh well, anyway, I take in the long route and I can just do a Poison Stall here, which wins me the battle against N and the run. That was a really fun run. I'm really happy that we were able to beat it. Just kidding. Like Rasputin, this game isn't done with twists, and in fact it has one more, which we have to fight Getzes. This actually shocked me on my first playthrough of this game ever, which was last year, by the way. Anyway, Getzes leads with a Kingdra, and I lead off with Taco. Kingdra sets up a Dragon Dance as I can hit a Metal Claw for some chip damage as Kingdra hits another Dragon Dance before I can get off a Psychic on the next turn, which is pitiful damage because I really don't know why. I really should have killed. I almost die here to a Hydro Pump, which would have killed if it high rolled. So this means I can switch into Bagel on the next turn, who can get a special attack boost as Kingdra heals up. This is actually great. I get hit with a hard Twister before I'm able to go for a Dragon Breath, which leaves it in the yellow. Thankfully, Kingdra throws the game by setting up another Dragon Dance before I can just take it out with a, Uh-oh. This means I can switch into Prime on an Ice Fang. I can go for a Surf on the next turn, but then I decide to Encore it and do a Blizzard. I thought I outsped, but nope. I get Crit, and I get Frozen Solid, which is incredibly annoying and only has like a 1.1% chance of happening. This means I gotta switch into Mara. He takes a Blizzard before going for a Slash, doing a third. Unfortunately, this is it for him, and he goes down. Wish Mara. This means I can switch into Infernape for free, as I can just go for a close combat, which just takes it out on the next turn. Thank God. Gyarados is next, so I gotta switch out into Bagel, who gets hit with a Hydro Pump. This thing could be an issue. I decide to go for a Fly on the next turn. While I'm in the air, Gyarados sets up 2 consecutive Dragon Dances, and a Fly does not get the kill. Gyarados then sets up the Rain, meaning we can go back up in the air, which is incredible because if it had gone for an attack, we probably would have been swept here. Thankfully, another Fly takes it out on the next turn. Conkeldurr comes in, so I can switch into Berry on a Stone Edge, which just misses. I can set up the Sun on the next turn as I get hit with a Scary Face to lower my speed. I then get hit with a disgusting Hammer Arm as I set up a Growth. Luckily, it lowers his speed, and I can just go for a Solar Beam on the next turn to take it out. Thank God. Since Venomoth comes in next, I realize I gotta sack off Cherry Pie, but it's the final fight, so who cares? You were great in both attempts, by the way. This means I can switch into Infernape, who can go for a Flamethrower, and since Venomoth is kind of weak here, we can just take it out. Ooh! The last Pokemon from Getsus is a Mr. Mime, and unfortunately I gotta sack off my starter to get a safe switch. Luckily, I'm able to get a safe switch with Bagel, who gets an attack boost. Mr. Mime has Truant, so I'm free to go up in the air and go for a Fly. A Fly that is boosted by Metagross and Samurott, but not just by them, but all the dead Pokemon in this run. And all the Pokemon that didn't make it in this video. Not just that, but also all the previous Pokemon and the useless Pokemon in the PC. A Fly takes out Mr. Mime, and I win the battle as well as the run. Well, that was an extremely fun challenge. Having that video be split into 3 different parts made for an incredibly fun video. This last part's unscripted, because I want to give my raw, genuine thoughts here. That was incredible. The final team and the wall rain at the end, which caused me to wipe in the first attempt, was amazing. It was an amazing plot twist, and I swear I didn't change anything of like the randomizer or anything like that. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. If you do that, I will shout you out in the next video, and your YouTube name has a potential to be a nickname encounter in the next video. Thank you so much for watching again. This really means a lot to me. If you want to see more Pokemon randomizers, well then, just leave a comment down below, and if I'm feeling up to it, I'll do another randomizer. Thank you so much for watching. Comment, like, and subscribe again. I know I said it already, but I'm running out of things to say. Alright, bye guys. I hate all of you.